Hey everyone! In the previous video, we got to know about how federalism, India is a federal form of a country, what is federalism, its features and everything. In this chapter is how is federalism practiced. We will read about how federalism is practiced within our country and what makes the real success of federalism in India. Okay, so the real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of the democratic politics that is happening within our country. To ensure the spirit of federalism, we have to remain the respect for diversity and desire for living together became the shared ideals in our country. We have read about the ideal federal country, right? An ideal federal country is about a mutual trust and agreement to live together. So that's how we will deal with now. We will going to study how federalism is practiced within our country and how it happened in our past. Okay, let's go. So, linguistic states. Okay, so what happened in 1947, the most states were divided on linguistic basis, okay, while some were divided based on culture, ethnicity and geography. So this happened in 1947 that the states were divided on the basis of linguistic. We can write it here as well. In 1947, the major test that happened for democratic politics was that they were in the basis of boundaries of several old states were changed in terms of the language or linguistic basis or cultural basis, okay, ethnicity and even geography, okay. So what happened? So this was done basically to ensure that the people who spoke the same language, like if the Telugu speaking people could be within the same state of the people they are, some states were created not on the basis of just language but to recognize the differences based on culture, the ethnicity or geography. So that's how in 1947 most states were divided like that only. You can see this was before and this is what happened after. Indian states in 1947 and in today. This is of 1947 and this is of now how it looks like. Okay. So on the basis of linguistic, culture, ethnicity and geography. Taking the example of states of Nagaland, we have Nagaland, we have Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, right? These were the states which when the demand for formation of state on the basis of language were raised, these were some leaders were they fear that it would lead to disintegration of the country. However, what happened in linguistic state basis, there was certain fear as well within the political leaders. What they were scared about were that this could lead to the disintegration of the country, and that's why the central government, they were resisted on basis of that the states shouldn't be made on the basis of linguistic or language. But the experience has showed that the formation of linguistic state was made the country more united. So it was a fear among the leaders. Fear of leaders was that it could lead to disintegration of country, but this didn't happen, right? So that's how we can say that most states were divided on linguistic basis. They were based on, and some were on culture, ethnicity and geography in 1947 till today. Okay. Moving ahead, we have language policy. What happened here? So the second test for Indian Federation was language policy. Okay, so our constitution does not recognize our national language, but Hindi. This Hindi is identified as an official language. Okay, so 21 other languages are recognized by the scheduled languages in the constitution. Okay, so what happened? Hindi was identified as the official language, but Hindi was the mother tongue of only 40%. The 40% of Indians were speaking only Hindi. It was the mother tongue of only 40%. Therefore, there were many safeguards were there to protect the other 21 languages that were within the scheduled languages in the constitution. So, any candidate who was filling for a central government position or anything could have opted any of the languages which has been mentioned in these 22 languages which has been mentioned. Okay, but what happened? In 1965, what happened? English was no more used as an for official purposes. Okay, so what happened in Tamil Nadu and many non-Hindi speaking states? They started demanding that the use of English should be continued as for official purposes. But in Tamil Nadu specifically, this movement took a violent form. They took it as a violent form. Okay, the central government responded by agreeing to them that English and Hindi both will be used for official purposes. So there are also certain criticism for it, like some critics says that it is supporting the English speaking elite, or some says that the promotion of Hindi still continues to take place. But we must understand the promotion doesn't mean that that Hindi is considered as the only official language is being imposed on those people who don't speak Hindi. So we have a choice that we could use English or Hindi or these as the official languages for like official purposes. Okay. So that's how the issues were resolved on this language policy, or the issues that were faced by the English or Hindi speaking people in our country. And this showed that the flexibility of our people or leaders of the country, that they were able to resolve the issue without creating an issue like the havoc or civil war kind of a thing that happened in Sri Lanka. But this was not in the case of India, right? Okay. Let's move ahead with the chapter. We have Linguistic Diversity in India. Okay. So the census 2011 recorded 1,300 languages. Okay. This is landmark census that happened. 1,300 languages further grouped under the major languages. And then we have 121 major languages were recognized after the grouping. And 22 of these are recognized as the scheduled languages. We can see here there were 22 of these out of 121 major languages recognized after grouping, and 22 of these were recognized as scheduled languages. Alright, let's move ahead. We got to know about the scheduled languages of India. So we have around 22, as we have stated before: Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi and Kannada. Then फिर Kashmiri, Konkani, Maithili, Malayalam, Marathi, Nepali, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Santali, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu. So we have, right, see, we can see Hindi 43.63%, and other than that we have Bengali, that is 8.03%. Okay, let's move ahead. We will talk about the center-state relations. So what happened before 1990s, the case was something like this, that for a long time only one party system was existing there. That was the Congress party that was in power. One party system existed till then. So this meant that the state party did not, like, because the same party was at the center as well as the state level. So the state party was not able to, the state government did not exercise their rights as an autonomous federal unit. They were not able to exercise their rights as an autonomous federal unit because obviously they were at the same party were existing at both the center and the state level, right? And in the cases when they were different, in the cases where the the party at the center was different and the party at the state was different, so the party at the center was not allowing the state government to exercise the powers effectively. Basically, it was something like this, that they tried to undermine the power of the states. Okay, so in those days, the central government would often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state governments, and when they were controlled by their rival parties. This was a scenario that was happening before 1990s, and that's why it was also harming undermining the spirit of federalism that was taking place before that time. Alright, but what happened from 1990s, coalition government started. From 1990s, we saw the rise of many regional parties and the beginning of coalitions government. Okay, so this led to what? This led to a culture of power sharing between central and the state government. So power sharing started going place from between the central and the state government. Okay, you can see it here. The power sharing existed between the central and the state government. Okay, so what happened? This led to a new culture that was happening. This was a new culture that was shared in the respect for the autonomy of the state governments. All right. So in this, this was supported by even the major, the federalism or the coalition form of government. This was even supported by the Supreme Court, because that made it difficult for the central government to dismiss the state government in any arbitrary manner. So because of it was also being supported by the Supreme Court, this form of government was supported by Supreme Court, it became very difficult for the central government to dismiss state government like these at the state level. So thus we can say the federal power sharing is more effective today in this scenario as it was in the earlier years. We can say about like that, because now we have coalition government which define the spirit of the federalism basically. as they were before. This was not the case before that was happening, because before the main party, the central government, the party at the central government used to undermine the powers of the state government. But this is not what, it is not happening now, right now. Okay. Moving ahead. So through this chapter, we got to know about a lot of things. Firstly, how federalism was practiced. So it was on the basis of linguistic basis, how the states were divided on the basis of languages or their culture, right? And then they were based on the center-state relations. We talked about that earlier. The situation was quite different, but after that the 1990s coalition government started taking place, and then the center and state government, they had their autonomous powers, which led to many regional parties. Like the formation of parties was in such a way that the coalition was forming by the combination or like the joining up of many political parties together to form a majority in the government, basically to form a powerful to form a government at the central level. This was the case that was happening in earlier. And then we also talked about how our political leaders dealt with the issues of language policy, about the issue that Hindi should be considered as an official language, or the issue of English should be there. Like 1965 onwards, English was stopped as an using for the official purposes, but this changed afterwards because there were several protests against that English should be considered as the official language for official purposes, so that the people who don't speak Hindi, it could be easier for them to do their official purposes, work for official purposes, or to go for any government, give any government exams, or do any government related work or for government related services. So that's how we got to know that how federalism was practiced at earlier times in our country, and in three different ways, like in linguistic basis, on language policy, and center-state relations. In the next video, we will talk about how decentralization occurred in our country, India, and how levels have been, like how the powers has been decentralized at different tiers of the government. Alright, till then, thank you for being with me in this video at Study Room. We will meet again in the next video of this study room. Okay, till then, bye-bye.